Hello, you've reached Matilda, the personal virtual assistant of Detlef and Korus. He's going so fast on the contact accelerator that even his charisma can't keep up. Make sure you leave a message or you'll miss the opportunity to catapult your sales story to the next level. Come on, don't be such a charisma muffle. Leave your message after the beep, and Detlef will get back to you with all his radiant power.
And here he is. Good morning, America. Good morning, Europe. Here we are with Contact Accelerator. You are the show. Peter Jude Ricciardi is here, the man who makes brands sing, dance, and occasionally cry tears of joy. Ladies and gents, welcome to Contact Accelerator Live. You are the show, and today the show is Peter Jude Ricciardi, a Disney veteran, a storytelling scientist, and possibly the only human alive who can brand a banana and make it feel aspirational. Welcome, Peter Jude. So, how are you to this morning? It's very early in America. How it's 5:55.
Yes, it is, and thank you so much. I love that opening. I love the energy. I want to say yeehaw, but I love this. Thank you so much. And yes, if I could brand it, we were talking about branding things that don't need branding or what doesn't need branding, and I'm not sure there's an answer to that. I think someone said to me, what did they say? Gosh, I forget. But a banana is a good example.
That's a good example. Peter, why is the phrase authentic personal brand often about as authentic as a spray tan in a snowstorm?
That'd be me. Absolutely. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. And hello, everybody that's joined us. Thanks for coming in pre your lunch hour or at your lunch hour. And for those of you who got up super early to hang out with Detlef and I, thank you again.
So, Peter, what's more dangerous today, having no brand or having a bland?
A bland brand. Say that 3 times fast. Or no brand. I would say no brand is more dangerous because, you've got nothing. A brand bland, that is so hard to say. A brand bland, you can do something with that. So there is hope in both situations. There's hope.
So because people want to learn a little bit about Peter Jude Ricciardi, to have been 17 years or something like that at Disney. What did you learn from that?
Well, one thing I learned was not to type in capital letters.
Great.
I mean, I learned a lot at Disney. I started Detlef as I walked in off the street into an office building that I really wasn't sure what was going on. I saw the words ABC and Disney on the front door, and I thought, well, I should go in there and see what they're up to. And I learned a lot about copywriting and messaging, voiceover, directing, production, and content creation. But the thing I think I learned the most was about how to develop a story for anything. I think it was more about storytelling than anything else. Learning how each brand and every company and every product has a unique story to tell. Whether they feel they're they're a bright and shiny luxury product or maybe a less sexy, print ribbon, they've all got a story to tell. And if you really think about it, there's a way to eke it out, find it, and share it with the right audience.
So storytelling very often means that you have a hero fighting with everything in life, and sometimes fighting more than death. So something with self-worth and so on. So let's say someone thinks branding is just a logo and a LinkedIn headline. What's your most outrageous analogy to blow them?
For a logo and a LinkedIn headline? Goodness.
So in terms of storytelling.
Yeah, I really think that one of the things that people miss out on the most is, you can say what you do and all the things you are, professional titles, but like I think that the most important part about a headline for LinkedIn is telling people, the audience you want to attract, tell them how you solve their problem. That's the simplest thing. Nobody cares that I'm a producer or this or that or the other thing. What they care about is how I can solve their problem. So when you start there, the other thing about logos or profile imagery on LinkedIn is, and this goes across the board, people want to see you. People do business with people. So it's important to keep a really healthy balance and a strong profile image of yourself. I've changed mine a few times over time. Frankly, there's plenty of programs, and I think you introduced me to one that would people would vote on your picture and say whether you're competent, friendly. And that was a weird rabbit hole to go down, because I kept looking at it and going, "What do you mean I don't look competent? What the you?" And then I realized, I said, okay, well, this is a small population of a small cut of an audience that I have no control over or any idea who they are. So I really looked at a thing like that and said, put the picture that you're most comfortable with, something that shows who you are, whether it's me going like this, or just.
Yeah, you have a funny picture here.
Yeah, bring it
We
up.
can
I've always
show
have
it a little bit when this one here when you book your Disney brand strategy call with Peter Jude Ricciardi here. Just scan this QR code, and this is a picture where you feel comfortable with. What did your children say, and what did your partner say?
Lose the pink hat. What are you doing? But I said no. I'm keeping the pink hat. Although I got to be honest, I don't know where the heck that hat went. Either someone made off with it or someone made it disappeared. I loved that hat because it was shockingly pink, and B, because it is a promotional item for a pug named Frank, who has quite the
Pug named Frank. Yeah. Do you have a pug?
I met this pug at a concert, and he was part of the show. And he has like millions and millions of followers on TikTok, YouTube, and the whatnot. So fascinating. I happen to have a dog. Her name is Libby Mae Brown. We call her Maybe for short. And she's a 90-pound red bone coonhound who thinks she's a small dog.
Oh, yeah, you're funny. So I have a small dog called Phoebe. So this is the funny thing is two dog owners are talking very early in the morning in America about personal branding and branding and so on. If branding is theater, where's most of the audience regularly asleep?
I think most of the audience members fall asleep at the back and in and around the outer aisles. That's because they're probably just sort of half listening. People that are tuned in up front, I think, are attentive and engaged. And you want to play to that audience for sure, because they are there and they are most active and most ready to engage with you or your brand. But I think that if you don't pay attention to those outer rings, the people in the back, if you don't wake them up, shake them up, you're never going to get them. So people's attention span is so short and so quick these days. I blame Viacom, Sumner Redstone and his pals, and MTV for that. They got us started on that, at least in America. And I would say that, people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. So you've got to be stunning. You've got to be awe-inspiring or plucking the emotional strings in order to reach the people at the fringe. Because at the end of the day, you need them all.
Yeah. This is funny because everybody's talking about target groups and designing your target group when you in terms of brand strategy. I very often am quite curious because people try to fit in sometimes, and is that a good strategy?
I think for a brand, you've got to be able to. You cannot create one source of messaging that blankets everybody. So, the one thing I've learned at Brandartica, and I've learned it previously at Disney, is that if you're targeting an audience, you're hit or miss. You may reach that audience, you may not, but you're missing all the other people who find that your message is not relevant or doesn't speak to them. So I think what's important for brands, especially these days, is to have multiple segments of audience and to create, and this is where the magic, I think, comes in, as I call it, the magic from the mess, because if you could see my desk, it's a bit of a mess. I think that you have to have unique messaging that has a consistent golden thread all the way through that ties back to your brand. But you really do want to make sure that the message you're providing is unique to this audience, and this audience, because they all speak differently. It's just like going to a different country. It's just like if you post on LinkedIn and shove the same post out to Instagram, to Facebook and TikTok, I guarantee you will fail, because each of those audiences share many people. Each of those platforms share many audiences, but they also speak differently and they act differently and the habits are different. So you do have to maintain some sort of uniqueness in each message for targeting multiple audiences.
Oh, very interesting. So I have one principle is with the Contact Accelerator program, because I'm always saying helping to understand people. Many people say it's complicated to get in contact with my target clients, with prospects and so on. And I say it's just easy. You need one expert, you need one appointment, and you need one interview, and the rest is done for you, as I say it. And says we make a one pager, we make 3 videos where 3 questions are answered in advance. The first question is, who is this guy, and why do we have to think about him? The second question is, why do I have to think about his funny topic? And the third question is, why do I have to book an appointment? So when you think in terms of Brandartica or Peter, Jude, Ricciardi, what would you say? Who exactly is this Peter, Jude, Ricciardi? How did you step into this creative world and finding your profession as a brand architect or somebody who's going to be a storytelling strategist? How did that come?
And I'll try to keep this brief. I won't go till 7 a.m. my time on it, but I could.
Because you have to bring your daughter to the school.
I'm pretty sure I was born a storyteller, and I think we all are born into things, then we lose track of them as we get older, and there's more outside interference. For me, I was telling stories. I was when I was a kid, I remember my parents were like, "Who did that? Or, what happened there?" And I was like, "Oh, the man in the black hat did it." Now, I was a kid. I said the man in the black hat did it, and immediately all alarm bells went off. Who the hell is the man in the black hat? And I was like, he just showed up behind the garage, and they were freaking out. And I had to go with this story for a while until I finally broke down and was like, I don't know. There is no man in a black hat. So I was telling stories at an early age. And frankly, I always had a desire to perform and to, I think I was always kind of a joyful, funny kid. I don't know what happened, but maybe still shaking around in there. I went into, I played sports as a kid. I had a wild imagination with my friends. We played all over the place, traveled to different planets and different continents, and experienced all sorts of bad guys, good guys, creatures. And then, I decided to get into music because that was performing and writing and creating. And that is really where I started to find myself. That really eventually led me to looking for something where I could do similar. I didn't want to continue dragging friends and family out to bars on a Wednesday, Thursday night to watch me, perform the same 7 songs I'd been performing for 3 years. So that led me to a radio job. That led me to my job at Disney. And that's where I kind of bloomed into going, you know what? I love to make, I love to create, I love visual, I love sound. My favorite thing about storytelling is taking imagery and sound, music, or a voice and blending them together. So for me, that's the natural progression of my storytelling journey is figuring out what aspects of it that excite me the most, which aspects of it are the most effective, and then just playing with that combination all the time. switching things up. You never know exactly what's going to work. And if you look at things differently, you always get a. I love to approach these things from precipitous angles, as I say, meaning careless, reckless, and dangerous, sort of.
Yeah, I think it's just let me ask this question. This is a Disney principle, isn't it?
Somewhat, yeah.
Just look at this scene from different perspectives. And is that an advice you would like to give our audience? So in terms of when you think about your personal brand, think about in different perspectives and tell the story from different perspectives. Is that the advice
Absolutely.
you
I
would
mean,
give?
I'll give you a quick story about one thing that happened at Disney. It happens today at Brandartica with different clients. There was one that I remember specifically that was there was a tomato sauce brand, and they wanted to become the tomato sauce of kids and families basically. And someone in their glorious thinking, probably a salesperson, no offense, decided that, why don't we just do fun facts about tomatoes? Kids love fun facts. And I remember thinking, like, are you insane? Like, okay, yeah, kids like fun facts, sort of, but like that, kids aren't driving the grocery cart, and they're certainly not spending the money, and they probably don't give a shit what tomato sauce you buy. And I said, the way to reach families and the purchaser, let's say in this case it was the mom. Today it's both. It could be mom, dad, partner, she, he, them. It doesn't matter. What is it about tomato sauce? Well, it tastes great, and we've been around since 1918, and we use only the best ingredients. And again, I said, who gives a shit? You better be using it. Better taste great. You better be using the best ingredients. These are assumed things, and you've been around since 1918. Okay, whatever. Who cares? What is it about tomato sauce that matters to a family? I'll tell you. Tomato sauce, if you brand it right, brings families together. And when a family comes together at the table, which happens less frequently these days, when a family comes together at the table to enjoy a meal, conversations are had, information is shared, and people learn about each other. And that's what brings us together, and that's what the tomato sauce is for, and that's the headline. Not that it tastes great, not that it's cheap, not that it has the best ingredients. It's a source of bringing people together, and that's all people really want. So that was the way I would look at that.
So yeah, this is absolute stunning and great to hear that, because it brings me to this thing to do when you think about personal branding is just think about what is the emotional worth of the emotional value of your personal brand. And this is quite interesting, because so many people are not used, they are conditioned to not talking about the value they are bringing emotional, because they are conditioned to, they have learned that they are not allowed to say that, because when you say something about it's worthy to contact me, when you think about the value of being a better contact accelerator or something like that, it's very hard for many people, because they are used to fit in and to not stand out. And is this a way of where you think the system, our system itself, is bringing the people to not being a brand? Is this a tendency you would say is we could see all the time?
Yeah, I think that personal branding isn't always just about being an expert in something, Detlef. I think it's being an experiencer and sharing that experience for good, for bad. Let's say this. I've known people in the past who have used their Instagram account, or let's say Instagram account, to just vomit up all of their deepest personal trauma. And, I go, I, as a person, as a human being, I'm empathetic to your trauma, but you're a photographer, and I'm not hiring you because you seem to be like head and hands down in the dumps, depressed all the time. I don't want that photographer on set. So I go, that person's personal brand is way off base. They're losing the point. There's a point in being, authentic and vulnerable, but you also have to keep track
Mhm.
of, what it is you're trying to achieve there. And if that's the case, if you want to get more gigs as a photographer, you might want to sprinkle in a little bit of your experience into that content. I was going to say to you, what's really interesting to me about personal branding? I had a person recently that I met. Her name's Nikki. Hi, Nikki. She's in Jamaica, and she may be here this morning. I don't know. And she's a copywriter. And we had this joyous conversation about life and her family and her experience and growing up. And eventually we got around to the copywriting. And it was fun to listen to where she's trying to take it and what she's trying to do. But then we kind of went into this other zone where she's an artist, a painter, and her paintings are beautiful. And she's like, I'm still trying to find my niche as far as content. And I said, you know what I would do if I were you? I would take the thing that you're passionate about copywriting, you love doing it, you're good at it, you're great at it, but you're also a fabulous painter and your work is unique and gorgeous and stunning. It's emotional. I said, why not take your paintings, post them on LinkedIn, and then use your copywriting skills to bring that painting to life, give a character, give us a backstory. And I said, then that gives two things. You're a copywriter, you're a painter, but you're very unique in the way you combine them. So that to me is looking at your personal brand through a different lens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you said the word backstory.
Yeah.
Just I understand that, of course, but what is the backstory for many people that don't know the concept of Aristoteles and don't know the concept of backstory? Would you give
Absolutely.
some
If
advice?
everybody knows what an elevator pitch is, a lot of people that are founders and brands, they know they got to have an elevator pitch. It's
Yeah, but nobody's able to do that.
I know. Guilty also. I mean, every time I turn around and go, my elevator pitch is like 20 minutes long, or it's changed from yesterday. Yes, the
So
longest
it's
elevator ride in
so
the
you have to
world.
be, yeah, the
Yeah,
elevator has to be
exactly.
stuck.
But the backstory is, and this is what I find interesting for brands, is when you think about a backstory is sort of like takes you from point A to point B to point C to point, it brings you from the past to the present, and then it alludes to the future. So in her case, I was saying, you've got these beautiful paintings that you're doing on your own. Maybe you want to share, maybe you don't, but you could bring them out to the forefront. Now it's not just a picture that you're posting of, it's me, or it's a beautiful scenery. It's me and my best life. Everybody can do that. Everybody does that. It gets a little boring. Share your art and write the backstory. What is that piece of art about? You don't have to tell me how you made it. Tell me who this person is in the picture and what's happening to them. Make it the fuck up. And that to me is most interesting for a backstory. For when a client, we've done logos for clients and they've said, well, I don't know. I don't understand it. And I go, stop. I'll explain to you the backstory of this logo. Do you see this shape and this knockout and this negative space? Actually, that's the space inside of an A. And that's the A from the font that we've chosen for your typeface. So that's the knockout. And then this thing around it, which has these odd shapes and curvatures, well, that's the outside of an O, the capital O in the font that we chose. So what we did was we looked at it differently. We looked at it from a precipitous angle, one that nobody would imagine. And we found a unique shape that nobody else has. And now it's yours. And that's the backstory. And they went, oh my God.
Yeah, great. So you revealed a hell of a lot of insights about creating a logo and creating a backstory. Many people aren't used to using graphics and so on, and using fonts and so on, and writings as a form of expression of a backstory or something like that. So when you think of logos, of great logos like I don't know exactly. Let us take McDonald's for example. What is the most stunning thing you saw in logo creating and logo
I think
change?
simplicity is always the most stunning. You have to think about, is your logo or your icon recognizable? So McDonald's is such a great example. it's recognizable in every country, and every culture in the world knows what those golden arches means. Aside from it means diabetes. Um, sorry, no offense. I won't be getting the McDonald's sponsorship anytime soon. But everybody knows that symbol, and it's so simple. It can be put on anything. When we talk about even Apple, the company Apple, great example. When you go to their website, their logo, their Apple logo, the icon is very small. It's up in the upper left-hand corner. And they don't have to spell out Apple. They don't have to make it huge. It's just very subtle and it's there. Now, we're not all Apple. Apple and McDonald's are great examples, but they're extremely recognizable. How do you do that when you're a new company or a new brand or a new person? You have to start you have to tell your story completely across the board. You have to be consistent, and that will allow you to take up that minimal amount of real estate. So logos and graphic design, to me, the real story is if you can do it in black and white and it works, you can add color. If it's very simple and the icon or just part of it tells enough that we recognize you, that's great. Those are the things I would look for.
What was the funniest story you ever learned about creating such a story with clients? What was the most weird thing? Maybe a story that you'd like to tell, just in case to just to learn where can I fail most quickly?
That's a good question. That's a good. I mean, the first thing that pops to mind, and it may not be that fascinating, but it's as a designer, and as a design agency, working with a client who has, they're their own entity, and there's always a thing with clients. They either want to be something, or they want to change who they are. And when you go into that sort of a storytelling aspect, which can involve a logo and everything that follows, the strangest thing I ever had happen recently was over branding. Like I branded someone beyond their capability.
Oh,
So
whoa, whoa, whoa!
what do I
What does
mean?
it mean? Yeah,
Well,
what does it mean?
so this company, without naming names, and God love them, I think they're fabulous people. Their explanation, what they did was they were a high-end luxury item cleaning service. So the kind of things that might chandeliers in the Smithsonian or the White House or museums, the Vatican, cathedrals around the world, high-end luxury items, not something that I have in my house. So
No, not yet.
we're not yet. No, I know. And when I do, I'm going to fill the place with them. So they really wanted to become, this was their aspiration, was to become a luxury, sort of white glove service. And the brand we developed for them to fit that narrative was very elegant, very simple, very refined, very discreet. I used the word discretion with them. And what ended up happening was they could not, their business and their team internally didn't buy into this narrative, even though the owner bought into it. And they could not live up to the elegance. So what I'm saying is these people were showing up on site perhaps to do a cleaning. And whereas I said, you should be showing up in a clean black van. You guys should be dressed nicely. White gloves,
idea,
if you
great idea. So you have to style the whole brand and the
Yeah,
clothing and
but they
so on.
weren't doing it. They couldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. And I remember they said to me, yeah, now we're going to order some hoodie sweatshirts and then we'll probably cut the sleeves off because that's what the guys do. And I thought, the fuck are you doing? That's the exact opposite, of what you spent all this money investing in your business to become, but you're not going to live up to it. So that's my story, is going sometimes, and I remember somebody said this to me, and they said sometimes you can overbrand. You can brand somebody beyond their capability. And I thought, well, you got to be really careful. So sometimes some clients and some people get into this relationship with a creative partner, and they become frustrated because they want to know why all the questions. I told you what I want. But we really try to figure out, is it what you want or is it what works? Those are two different things.
Yeah, great question. So just to think about that, when you try to be a personal brand, just think about your personality at first, and don't talk about what you want to be, because all those wannabes, there are many wannabes out there, and they're not living up to their values very often. This is what people can see and what people can feel. And this I recommend all the time. Just think about what are the five most attractive values you want to stand for. And if you have a clarity in your mind, then radiance follows after that. When clarity is here and charisma comes in and steps in, like talking about not only bubbles, but talking about what you're living up. So when you talked about this artist a few minutes ago, this content specialist creating art is, I think many people think I can do that, and it doesn't fit all together, because in the minds of many people around me the story doesn't fit. So it's very often they are stuck in telling their own story, telling what is happening there, what fails they have lived through, and what did they achieve. So this is very often, so many people use testimonials, and testimonials are just social proof, just to prove that other people said that this is a good story. Of course, we do that all the time, but we know, everybody knows that it's survivorship bias. We always present all those guys that have lived up to this methodology, this sort of doing things, but nobody showed those guys where it didn't work. So I think, would you recommend just to talk about both sides of the medal?
I think both sides are important. I was going to say, though, you know what I think is, and maybe, there's a good chance I'm clinically insane. So, take this for what it is. When you talk about personal brand, Detlef, the word brand can't be said without the word and. So personal brand, and you think about brand and. I think about, and I talk to people often about their ands. So everyone has ands. Everyone is an ander. Outside of your professional career, let me ask you. You are Detlef. You are a host. You are a talent. In your personal life, what else are you? And you're a dog dad. What else? And
a father, and a partner, and I'm a lover of chocolate, and I'm doing sports, and so it's 1,000 things, I think.
Okay, so on that premise, we go, look. If we were developing a personal brand, which you've got it. But I tell people, take your ands and incorporate them into who you are, because it's that part of you that makes you incredibly unique. That's the blueprint of who you are. So we can all be a CEO. We can all be a founder. We can all be a thought leader. We can all be an owner or a manager.
Yes. What's this boring?
Well, we can all be those things. Who cares? What else are you? I'm a gardener and a father and a son and a brother, and I'm a writer. I'm a musician. I'm a chef. I'm an eater. I'm a wine fan. Those are the parts when you get into that and go, now, how do I take those parts to the front of my story, how do I incorporate them into what it is that I want to express to people? And that's where you get the uniqueness.
Great. So Jeff, thanks for that. And the LinkedIn user is coming into something to learn from. I love brands when they share bad reviews. That's a bold move. Would you underline that?
Oh, I think it's a bold move. I love, a bad review is an opportunity to not to like apologize. I mean, obviously, when someone has a bad experience, you should absolutely immediately respond. And I think that for most brands, that response needs to be human and empathetic and explain, not that you're just sorry this happened, but how you're going to address it. And that shows everybody else it's okay to get a bad review. It just shows that you take these things seriously. A bad review that sits there for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months with no response from the ownership or somebody involved, that's a sign of a terrible, terrible business.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is what when you call a doctor and want some appointment, and he says come in 6 months or something like that. That's bad. Also, it's a same thing. So very often, in terms of services, so everybody is keen on using AI today, artificial intelligence for building his brand and so on. Would you recommend to do that, or what would you say is the better move at the beginning of creating a brand?
I think the better move is to start holistically, organically with your human brain and everything else that comes with it. You got to start there. AI is only decent or only useful if you feed it the right material. So you've got to know what to put into it. It's like cooking a complex dish, or let's just say a simple dish. Maybe you want to fry an egg. You need to know exactly. You need to be able to heat up that pan, make sure that it's oiled or greased or whatever, and you need to know that this is how you want the outcome of this product to be, and then you put it in and you wait and you do your thing. So I look at it and I go, if you cannot do the very least, which is start with your human brain and work it out to a place where maybe you can't take it any further, that's an okay time to pop it into your AI platform and see what it thinks, because AI doesn't care. It's just going to tell you what
Yeah. But the funny thing is that today I used some prompts. It was pretty easy just to define for the AI, help me to stand out as an expert in dot dot dot. And from this is my website where you can have a closer look and help me to understand what clients like executives, for example, would understand there, and help me to define the story a little bit better. Would you say this is a quite good prompt? And
I would. I'm going to take you one step back, or let's say one step forward, and say, when you say, tell me what you think about da 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 da, I look at that and go, well, how does AI know what you would think unless AI knows you? So my favorite trick with this, and I've done it now for eons, so I'm pretty comfortable with where I'm at. And if you're using one platform or a different platform, you really do have to engage this again. Ask AI to find out everything it knows about you and to tell you. And, for me, I've been using it long enough for little bits and pieces here and there, like, emails or spelling and grammar, because I suck at it. I'm not good at it, but that's not what people pay me for. I've asked AI platforms to just ask me 25 to 50 questions about me that it wants to know, because I want it to know me. I want it to know as much as it can about me, because I'm going to ask you these kind of questions, these kind of prompts, these kind of things I need assistance with. So I need you to know everything about me. And once you answer all those questions, which it gleefully spits back out at you, you answer all those questions, and now you've informed the platform about who you are and what your voice is and what your style is. So now the more you prompt it to do this or to do that, it has a better vibe. It feels more like you. That said, I'm telling you, anything that goes into AI, you got to take it out and rework it yourself. Otherwise, it's just painfully obvious that this is a bot that's kicked it out.
yeah, so
Does that make sense?
we're great. Peter Jude. Do you say Peter, or do you say Peter Jude?
Oh, I'll answer to both.
Okay, Peter. So, what's the boldest transformation you've witnessed after just one session with you?
Well, I think in that case, I would say it is a confirmation that they are more than they may have thought they were. People that have suddenly realized that it's okay to take risks, and often those risks come with great rewards. So that's the kind of thing, whether or not someone continues to work with me or not, it's really up to them. But if I can impart anything on them that gives them the confidence to really take some chances, that's the best.
That's the best. So this was a great conversation with Peter Jude Ricciardi, Disney veteran and brand storytelling strategist. I'd love to hear from you and to learn a lot from you. Thanks to the audience that you had been joining with us. And Contact Accelerator is a funny program where you can stand out and step into a one-pager where we ask 3 simple questions. Who are you? Why do I have to think about your topic, and why the hell do I have to book an appointment with you? So Peter Jude Ricciardi, it was great to have you as a guest here, and this was Contact Accelerator. See you soon. Next week I have a next guest, and maybe in German, but it was great to have you in the morning in the US. Have a nice day and see you soon.
Cheers. Thank you, Detlef. Thank you.
Hello, you've reached Matilda, the personal virtual assistant of Detlef and Korus. He's going so fast on the Contact Accelerator that even his charisma can't keep up. Make sure you leave a message or you'll miss the opportunity to catapult your sales story to the next level. Come on, don't be such a charisma muffle. Leave your message after the beep, and Detlef will get back to you with all his radiant power.